comes through. Fresh start in the morning blue. Hey, now blue sky shining down. Left your feet don't touch the ground. Laugh it off, let the good times stay. Oh yeah, it's a blue sky day. Oh, coffee steam and a smile breaks free. Simple joys are enough for me. Stones roll out, but I don't mind. Sun's still waiting on the other side. Turn it up, feel the sound. Good vibrations all around. Hey, now blue sky shining down. Lift your feet, don't touch the ground. Laugh it off, let the good times stay. Oh yeah, it's a blue sky. Wake up, sunlight tapping on the door. Feels like I've been here all before. Radio humming, the world feels right. Every little thing's in tune tonight. Shadows fade, the truth comes through. Fresh start in the morning blue. Hey now, blue sky shining down. Lift your feet, don't touch the ground. Laugh it off, let the good times stay. Oh yeah, it's a blue sky day.
Woo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Conservative Cat Show. Be sure to go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, support the program by visiting patriotpumpenergy.com. Use the promo code. This is the best promo code out there, and we only give it to you guys. Conservative Cat for $10 off at checkout. We've got so much to get into this morning, so I'm just going to jump right in. So the wife of this Minneapolis domestic terrorist, I mean, this is domestic terrorism. I'm going to get into some speculation. I find it so odd that this is happening all across the country where people are getting into vehicles and ramming ICE agents. This happened in Chicago back in October. So we're going to talk about that and how the wife of this slain Minneapolis domestic terrorist, and it's sad, folks. I mean, anybody dying is awful. But this wife of the woman was filming, okay, the incident, the whole incident. She was sobbing afterwards. And we're going to talk about the wife and these people who are directed by people like Governor J.B. Pritzker to go out there, film. This is putting them in a very dangerous situation. These are armed ICE agents, vehicles, armored vehicles. You don't want to engage federal agents when they're doing a job, okay, at all. And you definitely don't want to do anything that would impede their efforts, get out of the way, right? So we're going to be talking about that. I also want to talk about Comer and Anna Paulina Luna. They were in this oversight committee hearing, and there is deep, deep trouble ahead for Walz and the Attorney General of the state of Minnesota. I find it fascinating. Now, I'm not being conspiratorial or anything like that. I just find it interesting that the DHS is there not only to carry out mass deportations, but to prosecute fraud. So we know the Somali immigrants, they're committing acts of fraud. We know at least 2 of them had very close ties to the Congresswoman, Ilhan Omar. And when you're an immigrant and you're committing massive fraud like this, you're going to be deported. So it kind of works hand in hand. The massive fraud in Minnesota, funneling money, taxpayer dollars, into nonprofit organizations that say they're going to provide some sort of service, say, for example, the daycares, but they actually don't. And then the Somali immigrants wind up living these lavish lifestyles. So that happened with 2 immigrants through the Feeding Our Future, and they were convicted. So, yeah, the mass deportations and the fraud are kind of connected. So that's why DHS is there right now. That's why the ICE agents are there right now. And there was this oversight committee hearing, and there is deep, deep trouble. So I find it interesting that we have a story that is dominating the headlines now, serving as a distraction, maybe. And I'm not saying that somebody went out there knowing that they were going to die. I'm not saying any of that, but Walz and Democrats, the mayor there in Minneapolis, they were stirring up trouble that day. Okay. And they've been stirring up trouble. Hilton, we covered that. The Hampton Inn there, they were denying DHS officers a stay at the hotel. They're stirring up trouble. And when you stir up trouble like this, something like this is like bound to happen. And it serves, whether they intended it to do this or not, this incident serves as a distraction in the news cycle. Okay, we're not talking about Tim Walz possibly being arrested now. We're talking about Renee Good, who is the victim who was shot by ICE. I'm not going to go frame by frame. You guys can go watch the video. Frame by frame, it's very evident there's a bullet hole in the front shield of the car. So that would not have been possible had he not been the ICE agent in front of the car when she had drove off. And, it kind of reminds me of that story, Sonia Massey. Okay. Take the car out of it. What if she had a knife? Okay. And she wasn't wielding the knife in the ICE officer's face, but she was running away towards this officer with the knife. Okay. Or if she had a gun and just had the gun in her hand, then the ICE officer definitely would have shot her. Okay, that's how it's a deadly weapon. You're behind the wheel of a vehicle. In that split second, he has to think, and what his training tells him, he has to think about the people around him, the pedestrians filming everywhere. He has to secure the area. And, he doesn't know if she's driving straight into him or if she's going to do wheelies right there and try to take them all off. He doesn't know. All he knows is that she is wielding a deadly weapon and she was going towards him. Okay. And in that split second, the officer had to make a decision. And you replace the car with any kind of deadly weapon, whether that be a knife, a gun, or a pot of boiling water in the case of Sonia Massey. Like I was telling you, here in Illinois, there's a woman, she was deeply troubled, mental illness, had a history of it. And then an officer came in. I'm not saying the officer wasn't an ass. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you. The way he dealt with that situation, I think that our officers need more compassion, definitely. But being mean or a jackass is not against the law. Okay. She had a pot of boiling water, was threatening him. He asked her to put it down. She didn't. And then she went to go move. Okay. And she was wielding a deadly weapon. She went to go move. I don't know. She went to go move to put it aside. I don't know. But It looked like she was going to throw it at him, the pot of boiling water. He had another officer there. Those officers, in those split seconds, they have to think about, okay, if I'm taken down, are they going to take my weapon? She's mentally ill. She's going to take my weapon, shoot my partner, go out on a shooting spree, and go shoot other civilians. I have to use deadly force, take her down. She's wielding a deadly weapon. And in the video, the Sonia Massey video, I've gone frame by frame. And I mean, it looks like she's throwing the pot of water. And you can see the water makes it out of the pot prior to her being shot. It makes it out of the pot in a forward motion and splashes all over the floor. So very similar to this case, you've got a forward motion, deadly weapon, and you've got to make a decision in that split second. Okay. He's not thinking, oh, maybe she's getting away. No, he's thinking deadly weapon headed right towards me. Okay. So, and like I said, I'm sure the ballistics are going to show there's going to be a full-blown investigation. We're going to get into what Kristi Noem says here. But there's a bullet hole in the front shield. Okay. So how was he able? He didn't go like this to shoot in front. Okay. He wasn't on the side of the vehicle. He was in front of the vehicle and shot in the front of the vehicle in the windshield at her, jumped out of the way. You can see him slide on the ice a little bit. Then he shot the woman on the side, and I think that was the deadly blow. At least that's what it looks like. So we're going to get into it. But I think it's fascinating that that all happened. And simultaneously that same day, Tim Walz, the Attorney General of Minnesota, they are looking at arrest warrant. I mean, at this point, if arrests aren't happening this week, they will happen maybe early next week. That's what I'm thinking. The committee has called for, they say there's enough evidence to arrest Tim Walz. Like, this is huge news, and this is getting buried, obviously, because the media is running with the Renee Good story. Okay, so we're going to get to that first. It was the wind farms. They came in, they took the land for the wind farms, the solar farms. Solar plants is what I like to call them. That's a little bit more accurate. But big tech now wants power. And rural Illinois is pushing back. And I'm going to get to that story as well today. So subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. Hit that like button. All right. The story dominating headlines today. And all of last night, Wednesday night in America, it's this anti-ICE activist. And I say that very loosely. I wouldn't call her an activist because there's a lot of things here that point to terrorism. The pattern where this has happened, not just in Chicago, but in other areas where people are getting into cars and ramming their cars into ICE agents, wielding them as deadly weapons. So this anti-ICE activist, we'll call her that for now until the investigation is concluded, refused to heed law enforcement personnel orders to exit her vehicle. You can see this in the viral video that I've watched several times, frame by frame. And she attempted to impede a federal operation. She's blocking the road with her vehicle. Okay, she pulls out, she stops, and she's blocking the ICE agents from going down the road. Okay, and instead of not impeding a federal operation, instead of not getting out of the car when instructed by law enforcement personnel, she took her foot, hit the accelerator, and struck what appears to look like this officer was struck. He grabbed the vehicle, pushed himself off the vehicle, and jumped off to the side. She jammed the accelerator, struck the ICE agent, and he fired back, killing her. Okay, so there's opposing views on what went down here. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem identified the driver. She was a mother. lesbian, I think. At least that's what there's somebody who has been self-proclaimed as her wife. So her name is Renee Nicole Good. And Kristi Noem called her a domestic terrorist. She said that ICE agents were entirely justified in their actions. And then you've got Jacob Frey, the Minneapolis mayor, and Governor Tim Walz, framing this tragedy as if it's entirely the fault of ICE. And prior to this incident, all day there was provocation of ICE. Okay, they've been provoking ICE, not just that day, but for months now. And they've been provoking DHS officers, even through Hampton Inn. Okay, Hampton Inn was egging on and provoking ICE agents. So let's get to Tim Walz, what he said, because this is huge. Take a listen.
Message. We do not need any further help from the federal government. To Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, you've done enough. There's nothing more important than Minnesotan safety. I've issued a warning order to prepare the Minnesota National Guard. We have soldiers in training and prepared to be deployed if necessary. I remind you, a warning order is a heads up for folks. And these National Guard troops are our National Guard troops. They're teachers in your community. They're business owners. They're construction professionals. They are Minnesotans. Minnesota will not allow our community to be used as a prop in a national political fight. We will not take the bait.
All right, this is huge. Why? Because this is an act of rebellion. And I've said this for a long time, and I don't know what the holdup is here. Arrest these people who are in open rebellion. Governor J.B. Pritzker, Brandon Johnson, Tim Walz, Jacob Frey. Okay, arrest these people who are in open rebellion, of the United States. We are the United States. It's not Pritzkerstan. It's not Walz world. Okay, this is the United States, and you have to follow federal immigration law. I mean, if you don't like it, you were in Congress, Tim. Okay, change the law. Zohran Mamdani went as far as to call this flat out murder. Hit in the comment section. She accelerated. You can see the wheels spinning. Yes, and people are going to argue that she was cutting her wheel to drive away from the ICE agents. Sure, you could make that argument, but he's not looking at the wheels. Okay, in that split second, he's at making probably eye contact with this woman, and she's lunging forward, and he has a split second to react. She's wielding a deadly weapon, and she's lunging forward with that deadly weapon. Had she had a gun in her hand, even if she didn't point the gun at her hand, had she had a gun on her and lunged forward or tried to, run towards the cop, skirt to the right a little, she would have been shot. Okay, people are getting caught up with this being a car situation, and she was attempting to flee. Okay, well, law enforcement personnel had ordered her out of the vehicle, and she was, and we're going to get to Kristi Noem, stalking, doxing. She was, impeding federal law enforcement all day. Okay, so I'm sure that also played a part in the decision making. But yeah, her front tire was spinning. I saw it. She accelerated. Good morning, chat. Appreciate you being here. The driver was the guidance system. Yeah, the car is a guided missile, and the driver is the guidance system. So yeah, she was guiding this car towards him. He's not looking at the wheels. He doesn't know if she's cutting right. He's in that split second. Like, what if she was just turning right and was going to do a bunch of wheelies and try to take out all of the ICE agents that were present at the time? I think it was three ICE agents that were present. Okay, so in the aftermath of this incident, Democrats have gone nuts. There's lunatics in the streets. They are fanning the flames. So you've got Mayor Jacob Fry, Tim Walz. They're blaming ICE for what happened, and they're not even bothering to wait for this investigation. Okay, so they're not bothering to talk about the actual facts. I'm talking about actual facts. Cars are can be legally considered deadly weapon if you can prove intent. Okay, and depending on intent, and I mean they're going to go over this frame by frame. Her wheels were going towards and accelerating towards the officer. So he didn't wait for any of the evidence, nothing like that. He announced that he's going to be using National Guard. Look, they have whipped up Frey and Walz have whipped up these agitators, and now there's going to be rioting, similar to the 2024 or the 2020 George Floyd riots, where George Floyd died of a fentanyl overdose, and his wife Gwen Walz sat outside their window and smelled all the burning rubber from the city because they were setting businesses on fire. These agitators, these terrorists who hate our country. But these are wildly irresponsible claims to claim that ICE had anything to do with this, or that it's the fault of ICE before any kind of investigation is completed. So during a press conference, you have Kristi Noem setting the record straight, and she cooked Walz and Frey in the process. And she laid out exactly what happened, but she also dropped some inconvenient facts about Minneapolis and Minnesota and Tim Walz's failed leadership. Like I said, this all doesn't exist in a vacuum. They're there because of the fraud. They've got to deport the Somali fraudsters. Okay, that's the reason they're there. A big reason why they're there. Why they were denied a Hampton Inn. DHS officers are prosecuting on the ground there. They're investigating the fraud, which I've seen estimates could be a total of $80 billion over the course of this last decade, 2015 to 2025, $80 billion to $100 billion. It's insanity. So they were there, and she started off in the press conference pointing to the fact that she and Walz had served in Congress at the same time, and that they were neighbors, governors of neighboring states. So she was the governor of a neighboring state to Minnesota. I can't remember what one. Anyway, so Noem, she revealed that both Minneapolis, the city and the state, had refused to work with DHS amid their enforcement operations. And she insinuated it was rather strange, considering that they're trying to conduct operations that make the streets safer for American citizens, and they are trying to get justice for the Minnesota taxpayer who has been defrauded. Okay, so let's take a listen to Noem here. Here we go.
Him and I have known each other for years. We served in Congress together. We both ran for governor the same year and have served as governor at the same times. So we were colleagues, and we discussed what happened here today. We have two very different viewpoints of it. I talked specifically about the fact that we have laws. They need to be enforced. He knows that I believe sanctuary policies have protected criminals and placed a priority of them over the citizens that live here, and he knows we'll continue to do our work, and I encouraged him to work with us. We've never had a cooperative arrangement with law enforcement here. Whenever we've done investigations, whenever we've done police work, when we've been doing what we can to bring people to justice for the crimes that they commit, we haven't had the cooperation of the state of Minnesota or the city police here under the mayor's direction. If you talk to any of these federal law enforcement officers, they'll say that when they call for backup in a situation, that it's hit and miss.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what happened in Chicago. They called for backup. They wanted CPD to come there, and they didn't come. Okay, this exact same situation. She got shot. She was ramming her vehicle. A woman in Chicago, a suburb of Chicago, and she got shot in October of this year. And that's why I'm starting to think, okay, what group is this? Who's coordinating these ramming the vehicles attacks, the vehicle attacks? Who's coordinating it? Because it didn't just happen in Chicago. And I'll get to that here in just a second. She blasted Walz and Frey by pointing to the rise in crime during their time in office, and how they have lacked, or how there has been a lack of cooperation with the DHS. I mean, not even at just a municipality level, like the MPD, the city cops, okay, the state police. There's a lack of cooperation there. But we talked about Hampton Inn. They're not even letting in Minneapolis. And I don't know if that was a Hilton decision, if it was a rogue. They apologized, Hilton. And I think they cut ties with that like it's a franchise, so they don't usually like chime in on all the incidences that happen at their hotels, corporate, but they did on this one. And I think that they've cut ties with this hotel, specifically Hampton. But like, I find it hard to believe that the Hampton workers went rogue and they decided, oh, we're not going to. It was either came down from corporate, or the Minneapolis politicians stopped in and had warned the hotel not to house the DHS officers. So she talks about the stats here, and she in Minneapolis and in Minnesota, and she says the stats are why we're here. Okay, so let's take a listen. Here we go.
As Governor Walz has been in charge of Minnesota, we have seen homicides go up by over 50%. That's also during Mayor Frey's tenure as well. Since President Trump took office, Governor Walz has released over 470 violent criminals back onto the streets here in Minneapolis. He has another 680 of them still within his jurisdiction that he could give to us today to face the consequences for their crimes. Because Governor Walz and Mayor Frey refuse to protect Minnesotans, and instead they protect these criminals, that's why we are here. And we didn't just show up yesterday, we've always been here.
We've always been here. Yeah, they didn't just show up yesterday. They've been carrying out mass deportations. But there's a bigger presence. Given the Somali fraud, they're going to go in, deport some of these Somali immigrants who benefited extremely from taxpayer dollars, living lavish lifestyles when they were supposed to be providing services for the taxpayers. Okay, so that's why they're there. Crime is up. Noam also shared that the woman in the SUV, Renee Good, had been stalking and impeding agents during the course of the day. So it wasn't just like she, pulled out and stopped the vehicles that moment. She had been stalking and impeding federal agents all day. Take a listen.
Because of the adverse weather that Minneapolis has seen in recent snow, one of the vehicles became stuck and ensnared in the snow. Law enforcement were attempting to push out this vehicle, and when a mob of agitators that were harassing them all day began blocking them in, shouting at them, and impeding law enforcement operations. ICE officers and agents approached the vehicle of the individual in question, who was blocking the officers in with her vehicle, and she had been stalking and impeding their work all throughout the day. ICE agents repeatedly ordered her to get out of the car and to stop obstructing law enforcement, but she refused to obey their commands. She then proceeded to weaponize her vehicle and attempted to run a law enforcement officer over. This appears as an attempt to kill or to cause bodily harm to agents, an act of domestic terrorism. The ICE officer, fearing for his life and the other officers around him and the safety of the public, fired defensive shots. He used his training to save his own life and that of his colleagues. He was treated at a local hospital, has been released, and is now with family.
Treated. So there you have it, folks. I mean, this is evidence. He had to go to the hospital and was treated. I'm sure he was all right. He jumped out of the way, almost slid on the ice doing so. But I'm telling you, the smoking gun here is that bullet hole in the front shield. Okay, he was in front of the vehicle and was in front of the vehicle long enough to take a shot and to have that bullet go through that front shield. So Kristi Noem, said, hey, she was stalking, impeding, along with several agitators that day. She also pointed out that the officer did what he's trained to do in situations like that. And I'm sorry, but split-second decisions like that, maybe she was trying to get away. She did cut her wheels a little bit to the right. But in that moment, he's not looking at the wheels. He's looking at the suspect. She's got the vehicle. This is a deadly weapon, and she's lunging towards him. Okay, and this is what she said. It's very clear that this individual was harassing and impeding law enforcement operations. Our officer followed his training. He did exactly what he's been taught to do in that situation, and he took actions to defend himself and defend his fellow law enforcement officers. Like I said, you don't know if she was going to cut the wheel real hard right and start doing wheelies and taking out the entire ICE team there, the ICE agents, the 3 of them. So here's another clip from the press conference. Take a listen.
So Mayor Fry called the claims of self-defense BS. How do you respond to that?
I say that he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's very clear that this individual was harassing and impeding law enforcement operations. Our officer followed his training, did exactly what he's been taught to do in that situation, and took actions to defend himself and defend his fellow law enforcement officers.
Okay, so there you have it. That's Kristi Noem, and an important part of this press conference, something really important that I find fascinating, is that this is not an isolated incident, and this is what leads me to believe that maybe it's like Code Pink or Antifa, I don't know, some sort of group that is coordinating vehicle rammings. Vehicle rammings are getting to be regular occurrences during immigration enforcement operations on the ground. So Charlotte, there was an operation in November. It was called Operation Charlotte's Web, and that was in November. I'll get to the Chicago one, but let's take a listen to Kristi Noem. Here we go.
Vehicle encounters, are you going to change the way
People need to stop using their vehicles as weapons. This domestic act of terrorism to use your vehicle to try to kill law enforcement officers is going to stop. And I'm asking the Department of Justice to prosecute it as domestic terrorism because it's clear that it's being coordinated. People are being trained and told how to use their vehicles to impede law enforcement operations and then to run over anybody who gets in their way while they go out there and try to disrupt peace and public safety. And Americans deserve better.
So there you have it. This is huge. And I think that upon further investigation, and I hope that Kash Patel gets it together here, I think upon further investigation, they're going to find out pretty quickly that there is a group online possibly sharing step-by-step instructions on how to kill law enforcement, federal agents, ICE agents with their vehicles. It's getting to be a pattern. It happened in Charlotte, it happened in Chicago, now it's happened in Minneapolis. This is starting to be look very weird. Bottom line, Noem observed that it is imperative that these agitators stop using their vehicles as weapons to stop agents from doing their jobs. It is imperative because it's very dangerous. Because if you're acting erotically with a deadly weapon such as a vehicle, it's possible that not only ICE agents are going to get hurt, but it's very possible that you'll have pedestrians, onlookers, civilians get hurt. So I want to share this with you. Let me... I think, hold on. I'm looking for it. All right, there we go. This is another clip. Here we go.
People need to stop using their vehicles as weapons. This domestic act of terrorism to use your vehicle to try to kill law enforcement officers is going to stop. And I'm asking the Department of Justice to prosecute it as domestic terrorism because it's clear that it's being coordinated. People are being trained and told how to use their vehicles to impede law enforcement operations and then to run over anybody who gets in their way while they go out there and try to disrupt peace and public safety. And Americans deserve better.
Perfect. She said it. She couldn't have said it better. I find it extremely odd. Videos of the incident have flooded social media. Both sides, they are kind of using their interpretations to fit their narrative. I'm just telling you the facts. Bullet in the windshield. Her wheels were forward facing. They were cutting right. She was accelerating. Officer jumped out of the way, shot her, I believe, on the side. And I think that was the deadly blow. I think I heard 2 shots. I'm just telling you what I saw. And hey, legally, this is considered a deadly weapon. So in one of these social media videos, I found this. It's a recording. And in the recording, you have a woman self-proclaiming to be the wife of Renee Good, the woman who was shot. She was videotaping the incident. So she's being videotaped. The wife of Renee Good, self-proclaimed wife of Renee Good, is videotaping all of this while it's going down. And she was cheering on her spouse while the tragedy had struck, like cheering her on as she had pulled out in front of these trucks, ice trucks. And you can hear her cheering on in the video. So the wife of Renee Good, who attempted to run over that ICE officer, Renee Good did, appears to have been outside the vehicle filming her as her wife blocked the vehicles. She was seen wearing a flannel shirt, walking around the vehicle and recording ICE officers. So she was around the vehicle at the time when they had ordered her. The ICE agent had said, "Get the F out of the car." She did not listen and proceeded to accelerate. Then she runs to the vehicle to check on Renee. So after she's obviously shot, the vehicle rams into another vehicle on the side of the street there. And this woman in the flannel runs to go check on Renee. She can be heard in the video saying, "That's my wife." There's a guy, he asks if she knows any of the wife's relatives, and she responds, we're new here. I don't have people. I can't breathe right now. I mean, it's truly tragic. It's sad. They were married to each other, a lesbian couple. So she was outside filming her wife while she was impeding and blocking ICE agents. Now, look, my spouse would never encourage me to commit a crime or to get myself into a situation that would cause me harm in any kind of way, whether that's arrest or deadly force, and that's what happened here in this case. The officer had to use deadly force because she was wielding a deadly weapon against the ICE agent. And this is terrible. And I'm going to share it with you. Warning, 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 profanity. This is, disturbing content. It's not something I enjoy showing everybody. But I think it's important for you to see, that this is not like just one woman. And these were several agitators here messing around with the ICE agents. They were, they were trying to get the vehicle out of the snow. They were stalking. They were agitating. Okay, now I'm going to share this with you. This is tough to see, and there is profanity. Warning.
Get the fuck out of our neighborhood!
This lady got blood. They don't. She was in the car with her, bro. Or she tried to save her or something. Somebody. Hey, was you riding with her? Did you call any of your peoples yet?
We're here. I don't have.
So you don't got none of her family members or anybody number? Do you know anybody on her Facebook? All right. Damn.
So I wanted to share that with you. That was the wife, self-proclaimed wife. The authorities have not confirmed this video, whether that's the wife or not. Do these people have jobs? Yeah, I mean, it was the middle of the day almost on a Wednesday. I don't know. Are they paid agitators? Yeah, most definitely. Like the 5051, that's a nonprofit organization. They are the group that organizes the No King protest, and there's obviously foreign money going into that. And we've talked about how our adversaries, global adversaries, want to destroy America from within. Okay, and I wouldn't be shocked to find out if these were paid agitators. I don't know. But either way, I mean, think about it. If you have a spouse, would your spouse encourage you to break the law? Heck, my husband won't even let me walk across the street when the sign, like jaywalking. I mean, we were in the city and, you know, the red hand was there, and I was like, okay, nobody's coming, let's go. And he's like, no, we're gonna wait until the white guy pops up on the crosswalk. I mean, like, if somebody truly loves you, they're not going to encourage you to do something that is against the law or could harm you, whether that's arrest or, in this case, deadly force. And you've got another video. This is posted on the New York Post website. And it's the same woman. She's crying in the aftermath. And she's kind of lamenting here that it's her fault. And like, this is a very raw human moment. And, I don't know if this woman is ever going to change her ways and stop agitating, stop being, an agitator. Or, I mean, you want my opinion, I think they're all terrorists if they're impeding federal law enforcement from doing their job, enforcing federal law. But according to the outlet New York Post, numerous other clips from before and after the deadly incident had been seen. This woman has been seen closely following the federal agents, and she's filming them. She's got her camera out and she's filming them. She's filming her wife. Rather than de-escalate the situation, get her wife out of there. This is escalating. And I struggle with this because you've got Governor J.B. Pritzker, and I'm going to play the clip of him encouraging people to go out there and film ICE agents and almost act as, vigilantes, to go out there and film ICE agents and keep them accountable. I mean, something like this was bound to happen. They're in armored vehicles. They have guns strapped to their chests. They've got bulletproof vests on. Do not mess with these ICE agents. But I have yet to hear one Democrat say, hey, just let them do their jobs. Pull back. I'll fight for you. I mean, even if you disagree with everything that President Donald Trump is doing as far as the Somali fraud investigations, prosecutions, deportations, if you disagree with all of that, you, as a guy with cojones, Tim, ought to not weaponize the people and the citizenry against the ICE agents. Take them on yourself. Okay, now he comes out and he says, well, I'm going to use the National Guard, which is going to be really weird. That's open rebellion. He's threatening to use the National Guard against our federal law enforcement. This is open rebellion. I mean, this is a civil war. We're at civil war. We've got governors weaponizing their own National Guards against our federal agency, or federal law enforcement. And they're declaring war on the United States. They're seceding from the Union, the United States. And, don't weaponize the citizenry. Don't get them involved. They're out there with their rhetoric, and they're encouraging these people to get involved and to engage with men who have weapons strapped to their chest. Anyway, so this blood-covered woman identifies herself as the wife of Renee Good. She blames herself. Okay, and this goes to show you, like, the human rawness, like the human element here. Like, deep down, everybody knows that engaging ICE officers and that this situation was extremely dangerous, and she blamed herself for her partner's killing. Okay, at the hands of the ICE agents. As gut-wrenching footage. The woman was filmed. She was clearly distraught. She was sobbing. And she was just sobbing steps away from Renee Good's wrecked car. And a neighbor heard the commotion, asked her what happened. She says in the video, quote, "It's my fault. I made her come down here," through the sobs. And she says, "They just shot my wife." Very, very disturbing footage. I'm hesitant to even play it. I don't even really want to, but I'll show you a little bit of it, just so you can understand the mood. And she knows deep down that they shouldn't have been there, right? She knew it was a dangerous situation. That's why she's saying in the video, and she can be heard saying, "It's my fault." So she's not saying it's the fault of the ICE agents in this video. That's not her gut reaction. That's not her first reaction. Her first reaction is, "Dang it, we shouldn't have been here." Take a listen.
They just killed that lady right there in that car, y'all. Killed that lady in that car. Somebody come get their people. It's a lady right there in that car, y'all. I don't want to show this on Facebook like that, y'all. I apologize. But y'all. If y'all know who car this is, if it look familiar, man, come check on y'all people.
Whew. Disturbing footage. And it seems like with many of these anti-ICE protesters across the nation, demonstrators appear to treat the whole thing as some sort of game. And I mean, you've got the elites at the top, your Walz's, your Frey's, Jacob Frey's, you've got your Governor JB's, your Brandon Johnson's, and they play into it. They play into this game. And they're like weaponizing the people, the citizenry against federal law enforcement. Like, if you guys had stones, cojones, you would go out there and, fight ICE yourself, fight Donald Trump yourself. Okay, do it through National Guard. Now you've got Tim Walz saying that, "Oh, I'm going to use the National Guard against the federal," and I'm not for that. But this whole like sort of game thing, this challenge, they wear it as like a badge of honor. And the reason why they do that, these citizens, these agitators, they wear this as a badge of honor. The reason why is because they feel like they've been deputized to go out and fight the ICE agents by our leaders like JB and Tim Walz. ICE is not playing around. They haven't been. They won't play around here. They've got a job to do, and they're going to do that job. And this whole thing could have been prevented had these two women, had not joined a large crew, and they were trying to thwart heavily armed officers from doing their jobs. And I don't hear Democrats saying, like, if they really thought ICE agents were, out there, they'd be warning people, hey, if you see an ICE agent, go the other way. If they really thought this was Gestapo and they're coming down, they're gonna zip tie you and prance you around naked in the streets. I actually think that's what Tammy Duckworth said at one point. They truly believed that. If they truly believed that, then they would be encouraging people to flee from these people, from ICE agents, but they don't do that. You have governors encouraging the citizenry to thwart the officers, to impede federal agents, and to film them while they do it as if it's a challenge or a game. And if you do it and you post it on social media, you're awarded some sort of honor badge. It's so effed up. I'm sorry. The endless leftist violent rhetoric has brought us to this. Killed Charlie Kirk. Killed Rob Reiner. When is it going to end? Attempted assassinations on a former President Donald Trump at the time and presidential candidate. Is there a single Democrat? Irina Zarutska. Is there a single Democrat that's going to come out in light of this shooting and encourage these activists? Hey, I know you feel passionately about these ICE agents. I'm taking care of it. I feel the same way you do. But you need to avoid confrontations because these people aren't messing around. Stop provoking the ICE agents because these are seriously dangerous people. But they don't believe it. They don't believe that ICE agents are seriously dangerous people. I just want one Democrat. They won't because it's all game. It's all a game to them, and they are the masters of the game. And the citizenry, these agitators, are the pawns, and they get a kick out of watching people go and do their political bidding, and their bidding in the streets. So Chicago Governor J.B. Pritzker urged Chicago residents to film ICE and ensure accountability and document potential misconduct during federal immigration enforcement. This is what he said. He encouraged people to go out there with their phones and go film. And it's just dangerous. I mean, this was bound to happen.
Illinois, your help. Get out your cell phones, record and narrate what you see. Put it on social media. Peacefully ask for badge numbers and identification. Speak up for your neighbors. We need to let the world know that this is happening and that we won't stand for it. I was surprised and pleased to see that a federal agent in New York was put on leave after he was caught throwing a woman to the ground. Good. That would never have happened, though, if it wasn't on camera. So keep documenting. It could make a world of difference for someone, perhaps for all of us.
Go ahead, do my job for me. We need your help. Play this game. And when you're filming, I'm bestowing you this, I'm deputizing you. What's wrong with these people? Citizens are just cannon fodder for the left. Yeah, it's TDS on steroids. It's gotten to a point where it's extremely dangerous. So in October of this year, I told you guys, Border Patrol agents near Chicago, who's a burb, they shot an unarmed woman. So she was actually armed. She was part of a group of motorists who had attacked ICE agents, Border Patrol agents, with their vehicles. And here in the press release issued in October said, quote, "This morning, Border Patrol agents were conducting a routine patrol near the intersection of 39th Place and South Kedzie Avenue when they were attacked and rammed by vehicles and boxed in by 10 cars." Okay, these ICE agents. The officers exited their trapped vehicles when the suspect tried to run them over, forcing officers to fire defensively. So they had guns, they were trapped in their vehicles, they got out of their vehicles, then they started to run them over. And this happened in October. There was another incident that just like this that happened in November in Charlotte. And, it sounds to me like there's got to be a domestic terrorist group operating maybe online with instructions and coordinating these vehicle rammings. Like it's gotten like eerily like pattern, like there's a pattern now. And like I said, I find it fascinating that all of this is happening at the same time as this scandal is unfolding in Minnesota. One might say that the terror groups have coordinated attacks on ICE to serve maybe as a distraction. One might say, I won't say, but one might say that maybe there were attacks coordinated that day, Wednesday in Minnesota, because it's a distraction to what is about to come down. And that brings me to this story, the House Oversight Committee. So what happened yesterday, Wednesday, was massive in the Oversight Committee. This is huge. And Democrat-run the fraud scandal in the Democrat-run Minnesota. There are reports coming out of the committee that some of this fraud is totaling up to $9 billion that have defrauded the taxpayers. They've taken taxpayer monies, put it towards nonprofits that are supposed to be providing a service for taxpayers, but they're not providing those services. The daycares are empty, right? So this all went down yesterday. And this is kind of getting shoved underneath the pile here when it comes to the news today. But this is the biggest thing that happened, I think, Wednesday. And the headlines, of course, are dominated by Renee Good. But this is huge. Republican Committee Chair James Comer of Kentucky kicked off the hearing saying Minnesota social services, which are funded by you, the American taxpayer, are being ripped off. Let's take a listen to Comer here in the committee hearing that took place yesterday.
Good morning. Today, the House Oversight Committee is holding its first hearing on the massive fraud in Minnesota's social services program. Minnesota social services, which are funded by you, the American taxpayer, are being ripped off. The most vulnerable are suffering as a result. Federal prosecutors estimate that these criminals have stolen at least $9 billion. The fraudsters, many of whom are from Minnesota's Somali community, have stolen from programs meant to feed needy kids, provide services to autistic children, house low-income and disabled Americans, and provide health care to vulnerable Medicaid recipients. Fraudsters like these take millions to enrich themselves while providing nothing, overstating or outright faking the services. How many children have gone hungry because fraudsters stole money that was intended to provide them with food? How many autistic children were denied services because fraudsters instead sent this money overseas? How many low-income seniors, people with disabilities, or those with mental illnesses were denied access to housing because fraudsters drained resources and pocketed the money for themselves? The breadth and depth of this fraud is breathtaking. And I fear that this is just the tip of the iceberg.
So this happened yesterday, folks. Yesterday. Okay, and if you guys recall, there was a committee hearing, actually, Tim Walz was there, where they were questioning the governors over the No Kings protests and their connections with global adversaries like China. Specifically, Tim Walz was asked about that in a House committee hearing. And that same day, if you remember, I forget his name. I think it was Padilla. Yeah, Senator Padilla, where he charged Kristi Noem in the press conference. So this is like a playbook that they have where there's a distraction. And I mean, I won't go as far as to say like this woman knew that she was going to die. I'm not going to go as far as to say that. I'm not that conspiratorial. Come on, guys. I've got my tinfoil hat, but it's not that big. But I think Tim Walz, Jacob Frey, politicians, they were whipping up these agitators, and something like this was bound to happen. And it serves as a distraction now, you see, a distraction from the Tim Walz arrest and from the attorney general who could possibly be arrested here for their knowledge and their lack of, stopping this fraud happening. And you guys know Senator Padilla, when all of these Democrat governors were questioned, Senator Padilla charged Kristi Noem in a press conference. it's almost like they whip up these distractions when things start to get good, right? When we're starting to see like things happen. So the breadth and depth of this fraud is breathtaking, he says, and he goes, I fear that this is just the tip of the iceberg. So the panel, the Oversight Committee, heard from 4 witnesses: GOP state representatives Kristen Robbins, Walter Hudson, Marion Rarick, and Brendan Ballou, along with Brendan Ballou, who is a former prosecutor for the Justice Department who was appearing as the Democrats' witness. So, asked how the fraud became so widespread in Minnesota, Walter Hudson, like I said, he was a witness, said that when people recognized that the system wasn't working, they began to raise concerns. Those concerns were ignored, and then there was a culture of suppressing those concerns fostered by the Walz administration. And it got wild for a second. Comer and Democrat Representative Summer Lee of Pennsylvania, there was an exchange, and she started freaking out about the money, where Donald Trump is freezing the money, not just to Minnesota, but he's going to start freezing money to other states like Illinois, California, New York, child care money, until, we can figure out where that money's going and if it's going to all the correct places. And I've told you my personal experience. So, I thought this was strange. You guys can go back in the archives. Like, I even talked about this with Head Start. Like, I stumbled upon some figures, and I did a deep dive into Head Start and found out that the, executive directors, they've got connections to Bruce Renner here in the state of Illinois, or the people involved in this nonprofit, connected to the Head Start program. This is a national and state program where dollars are allocated to it. And I've seen one of these places, these daycares, with my own eyes. Okay, so I walked in, and I even made a comment to my relative, and I said, hey, I don't know about taking our relative to this daycare. I'm going to preserve their names. I don't know about this. I don't know how safe this is, because I walked in, and the people, there were like 4 people working, and there was like 20 plus children in one room, and then there was even more children in a different room who were highly disabled children. And they were sweet workers. I'm not saying that they weren't sweet, but clearly they were, like, and I say this seriously, mentally ill or retarded, and not capable of taking care of that many children. And it was very understaffed. And, the numbers just don't add up. Like, it's kind of like one of those burger joints. You go in, the ceilings are black, the bar stools are uncomfortable, and you order a burger, it's $40, and it doesn't even come with fries. And I was expecting to walk in, and this is in Illinois, and this is everywhere, Head Start programs. It's, funded by the feds, funded by states. And I was expecting it to be like, I don't know, little bunny rabbits were jumping around, a cute little slide, for as much as we're paying for this thing. But I walk in, and like, nobody's there watching the children. And the people that are there are mentally incompetent and not capable, I'm sure, of taking care of that many children. So anyway, let's get to this exchange between Comer and Summer Lee. It got really heated. So what Donald Trump has said, hey, we're cutting the federal funding for right now until we can kind of figure out where all these child care dollars are going. Take a listen.
Many of these social service programs are being gutted and defunded. Fraud becomes even more harmful, as that means even less money is going to people who need it. People need these programs. This situation should be an opportunity to take a deep look at the programs and improve their oversight abilities, not an excuse to cut them entirely. If we care about the most vulnerable, if we care about the most marginalized, this is an opportunity to do so, and I welcome us to actually do that one day. Thanks, I yield back.
Ms. Lee, the IGs are hired to identify fraud. They haven't identified fraud. The IGs have failed. But anyway.
You all have failed.
No,
You all continue to fail.
have
We've
failed.
done nothing. You have the gavel, Mr. Comer. We barely do hearings on anything that actually affects change.
You want to
have
spend more
power
money,
here,
more money,
and
more
yet
money.
you don't do anything. Yes, he actually initiated this, sir, but thank you so much for your opinion.
You have failed.
I yield it back.
Chair recognizes Mr. Perry from Pennsylvania for 5 minutes.
Whew. I don't know about y'all, but I want to know what's going on in Pennsylvania. She's on the verge of tears there. And what does she know? Okay. I don't know what this woman wants. Does she want to continue to pour money into these nonprofit organizations that take taxpayer dollars, fraud the taxpayer, where they're not getting the services that they're paying for? Does she want to continue to pour money into this and not check where it's going? Okay, it's not to cut off. Trump isn't cutting off the funds permanently. These IGs, these inspector generals in these states, are not conducting full-blown audits. They are not ensuring that these nonprofits are actually providing the services that they say they are. They're not looking into it, where this money is going. And Trump said, we're not going to cut it off permanently, but we're going to cut it off for right now, the federal funding to these, because we don't know where it's going, and we want to make sure that it's going to the people it's supposed to go to. And the problem was the failure to do that. Okay, Tim Walz, whoever in the state of Minnesota, they have failed to do that. Obviously, we know that there's been frauds. People have been convicted of it. It's been going on since 2015. And it wasn't going to the people who needed it. Okay, and Comer said the inspector generals have failed here. And Lee, she started screaming on the verge of tears. You all have failed. No, it's the Democrats who are in charge of Minnesota, and they have failed to ensure that the money goes to where it's supposed to go. Comer replied, you have failed. You just want to spend money. That's what Comer said. Yes, they just want to pour more money into these nonprofit organizations. And I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to find out that a lot of these nonprofit organizations, what they did, they turned around. Not only did the Somali immigrants live these lavish lifestyles, drive these luxury cars, and go on this luxurious vacations, not only did they do that, but they were paid off to go vote for these people and to get out the vote for these people, the Democrats. And we're going to find out that some of these nonprofit organizations, they've got 501c4s connected to their 501c3s. And these 501c4s are lining the campaign coffers of these Democrat politicians who are paying them with taxpayer dollars. And in exchange, it's money laundering. It's money laundering. Okay, so that wasn't the only notable moment. I do want to get to this. This is Anna Paulina Luna. She had a notable moment here in the committee hearing. And I mean, this is the top news of the day. You're not going to hear about this because you're going to be distracted about the Renee Good story. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't cover that story and we shouldn't remember the life of Renee Good. I'm not for people dying, but the Dems are going to weaponize that incident and they're going to distract you from what's really going down. And this is the potential arrest of a sitting governor and a sitting attorney general in the state of Minnesota. That's what we're talking about here. This is a huge story. So Anna Paulina Luna, she was questioning Republican State Representative Kristen Robbins, the head of the Minnesota House Fraud Prevention Committee. Let's take a listen here to Anna Paulina Luna. I think we've got the clip here. Here we go. Sorry, folks. Hold on one sec. Yeah, we got it. Here we go.
Honorable Robbins, based on your record before your committee, when did Governor Walz first become aware of widespread fraud in Minnesota social service programs?
I would assume that he has been aware of it since he ran for office for governor in 2018.
By 2017, DHS investigators warned CCAP fraud could exceed 50%. What was that information elevated to the governor's office?
Yes, there was an OLA report.
Thank you, ma'am. By 2020, state officials knew Feeding Our Future invoices were fraudulent. We know that payments continued to the AG's knowledge. Did they continue to the governor's knowledge as well?
Yes.
Attorney General Ellison agreed on tape to fight Minnesota's own Department of Human and Health Services in exchange for Somali political and financial support. In your personal opinion, do you believe it is a possibility that Governor Walz also made that personal deal, or that he at least knew about the Attorney General's agreement?
I don't know.
Okay. I don't want to rehash what you guys have spent hours answering. We know that there's a big issue with the fraud in Minnesota. So on a number of things, I'd first like to point out, thank you for being here today, but because of your testimony and because of some of the evidence that we've seen brought forward, as well as I'm sure the fact that this committee, I assume, at Chairman Comer's direction, will be soon subpoenaing AG Ellison, I would like to make criminal referrals regarding Governor Walz as well as AG Ellison. As you know, U.S. Code 371 and U.S. Code 2, which deals with criminalized conspiracies to defraud the United States and establishes liability for individuals who knowingly aid or abet the commission of federal offense, includes willful blindness or deliberate inaction where duties to act exist. So I will be referring them later on today.
Okay, so let me break down what you said here. Anna Paulina Luna, she said, based on the testimony they heard at that hearing yesterday, that she thinks that there's enough here to make criminal referrals. So what does that mean? There's enough there to arrest Tim Walz and the Democrat Attorney General Keith Ellison. And that is a big deal. That's coming from the Oversight Committee. She cited statutes that they broke, allegedly. So Comer said that he also intends to call Tim Walz and Ellison, the Democrat Attorney General there in Minnesota, to be, and he's calling them to testify, and they will be subpoenaed if they do not come voluntarily. So a spokesperson for Walz did not provide a comment regarding this whole thing that went down in Washington, where they had this committee hearing and they stumbled upon all this evidence and this testimony. So Walz didn't have a comment yesterday. And Ellison, former member of Congress, a spokesperson for him, had said in a statement that the Attorney General has aggressively prosecuted fraud and had put fraudsters in prison while defending our tax dollars and the services they pay for. So Attorney General Ellison will respond to the Representative Comer's invitation at the appropriate time, said the spokesperson for Ellison. So could you imagine Tim Walz? I don't know if he's gonna, but we'll have to see him testifying. What a mess that would be. I would definitely break out the popcorn for that. Looks like Ellison is going to show up. So I don't know. Walz has already, crumbled. He's dropped out of this re-election bid. Now, I don't know if he's working with the vets. Perhaps he dropped out in exchange for some sort of, dirt on others. That Tim Walz strikes me as that kind of guy, where, he's going to try to save his own ass in all of this. I don't know. But he did drop out of the re-election bid, and because of this scandal, and it's gotten worse because there's also, and this is being buried, you won't hear this in MSM, the mainstream media, there's this legislative audit. Okay. And I'm getting goosebumps just talking about this because it's so weird that we've got this story dominating headlines with Renee Good, and nobody's talking about this legislative audit. Nobody's talking about the Oversight Committee referring criminal, hey, there's enough here. This is criminal. And we're going to subpoena by force Walz and the Attorney General of Minnesota. That's huge. And we've got this legislative audit now showing that the Department of Human Services records have been changed and altered. What? What? The feds, this gets crazier and crazier by the day. The feds are sending a ton of prosecutors right now. Like I said, DHS, they're sending a ton of prosecutors, officers to go investigate and prosecute this fraud and deport the Somali immigrants who were involved in this. Okay, because you can't keep your immigration status if you're, defrauding the taxpayers. And if you thought you heard it all about the Minnesota fraud, you'd be wrong. This goes deeper and deeper. The story is never ending. Tim Walz decided that he was going to quit and not run for re-election on, what was it, Monday. We chatted about that. Perhaps he's working with the feds. He's going to, like, the feds maybe said, like, oh, we don't want you to run for re-election. We want you to give us names. Otherwise, we're going to publicly arrest you and we're going to make your life hell. I don't know if that happened. That's speculation. Tim Walz kind of seems like a rat to me. But it seems like something he'd do. But that's completely speculation. Perhaps it's just because he doesn't want the spotlight on him anymore. He wants to go quietly into the night. He was trying to preserve his legacy, obviously, on his daughter's social media page by talking about all the great things he's done and getting Hope, who calls her dad Tim, to talk about all the great things he's done for Minnesotans. But here's the news, and this is being buried. It is a scathing audit report, and it was released also on Monday, and perhaps that's why he announced his. Now, I was thinking he was working with the feds, still possibly so. Maybe he's going to rat out some people, and in exchange, he's got to not run for re-election. But this audit report came out Monday, too, so this could have possibly been the reason why he announced his departure, or announced he was going to quit on Monday. So a major state audit in Minnesota conducted by a nonpartisan office of the legislative auditor found widespread failures and internal control problems in the Department of Human Services Behavioral Health Administration grant program, reaffirming concerns about massive fraud issues. The report released on Monday found that between July 1st of 2022 and December 31st of 2024, DHS dished out more than $425 million to 830 organizations. Okay, now I haven't done audits like this, not nearly to this extent, obviously, in Illinois, but I've skimmed through, and we're pretty much doing that. Okay, 425 million in grants to 830 organizations. That sounds pretty dang close to what Illinois does. I've looked at the organizations. A lot of them are these like homelessness nonprofits in Chicago, where they try to address homelessness, but they don't actually, because if they actually eradicated homelessness, none of them would have jobs and none of them would get paid the taxpayer dollars to do that job. So they don't eradicate it. They do something that's called functional zero, which they just kind of, the people that they do get into these nonprofits and these initiatives, these homelessness initiatives, they just kind of give them like a place to stay and have them live these nomadic lifestyles. Anyway, $425 million in grants to 830 organizations, a majority of them being non-government organizations, NGOs. And there was no oversight into watching how these taxpayer dollars, these funds were being spent, and if they were meant to actually help people with addiction, mental health issues. And I think that, just watching this kind of all unfold, how effective are these programs like the homeless program in Chicago? How effective is Head Start? How effective is the mental health? How effective are the immigration nonprofits that we're funneling millions of dollars to in Illinois? I don't know, and I don't think anybody really knows, because they're not really required to prove that they are providing the services they say they're providing. They're not really required to prove that they're fulfilling their mission. Okay, so the audit found missing progress reports, discovered that BHA, the Behavioral Health Administration here, the subsection of the Department of Human Services, could not show it had completed the required monitor visits and had no documentation at all for some of them. Like some of these nonprofits who got taxpayer dollars, like you're supposed to do, like the BHA, they are supposed to ensure that, hey, the nonprofits are actually fulfilling their mission and providing services. And some of these NGOs that got money, they don't have any reporting, no documents surrounding this. So let me actually play this for you. This is a clip talking about the audit report. This is a scathing audit report. Let me pull up this sucker. Here we go. Take a listen.
Partisan legislative auditor, this is another case of mismanagement of taxpayer money. But perhaps the most explosive revelation is that managers within DHS, the Department of Human Services, tried to cover their tracks by backdating and creating new documents.
But I do want to talk about what a serious issue this is and how it is, frankly, unacceptable.
Another sobering report by the Office of the Legislative Auditor, this one concerning the Behavioral Health Administration within the Department of Human Services, which issues grants to providers treating mental health and drug and alcohol addiction, hundreds of millions of dollars each year. The audit found them issuing grants to applicants without a bidding process.
So what we saw is that there was multiple entities that could have been eligible, and they chose not to provide a justification for why they were picking those.
This report is quite stunning.
One outrageous example, the auditors found a grantee that was paid $672,000 for 1 month of work without any info on what they do. And the audit says the grant manager who paid it then left DHS a couple days later and became a paid consultant for that company.
To me, that's criminal.
Auditor Judy Randall says she was most shocked that during the audit, multiple DHS managers backdated or created new documents to try to cover their tracks.
Frankly, in the 27 plus years I've been with OLA, I have never seen this before. I will say we have had suspicions periodically, but we have never been able to prove it, to document it. And we did in this case. And it's very troubling.
Temporary DHS Commissioner Shireen Gandhi's response.
I was shocked to hear this information in the exit conference, and it is absolutely unacceptable that any staff would provide anything other than accurate representation of the work done to an auditor.
Okay. This is huge. Thanks so much for subbing. I appreciate it. Go ahead, subscribe to the channel. This is the Conservative Cat Show. Appreciate you being here. If you want to support the program, patriotpumpenergy.com. Get your premium pre-workout today. $10 off using promo code ConservativeCat. So they found, listen in this audit report. This is a huge audit report, and this is getting buried. The House committee, the oversight committee, referring like criminal charges. That's huge. That's getting buried because of the Renee Good story. But listen to this audit report. They found that one employee, just one, gave $672,000, over $672,000 in a form of grant to a company for a month of work. Okay, that's $500,000, over $500,000 for 1 month of work. Okay, without any information on what they did. Like, there's no documentation of what this company did for the taxpayers. Okay, if you're going to be paying people with taxpayer money, companies, nonprofit organizations, whatever it is, you have to provide documentation that they are actually providing a service to those taxpayers. Okay, then the employee who did this, who signed off on the $672,000 grant, the employee who did this went to go work at that company providing consulting services. Wow. And that's not all. Okay, it gets worse. Auditors have discovered what appears to be backdated or newly created documentation. So they didn't have any documentations on these NGOs, what kind of services they were providing, progress reports, and hey, we gave you this taxpayer dollars, last year. What have you done with it? There's none of that, but it looks like there's created documentation after the fact, after, this audit existed. Okay, it did not exist before the audit, and they're seeing that they are manufacturing paperwork to show compliance. Okay, this suggests that there is an ongoing effort right now in Minnesota to cover it up. Okay, and this is wild. The legislative auditor, Judy Randall, you heard her there, she said she called it a systemic effort and said that she hadn't seen anything like this in nearly 3 decades with her work at the Office of Legislative Auditor. We have never been able to prove it, to document it, but we did in this case. So Republican Speaker Lisa DeMuth in Minnesota there had called the report shocking. She says that it shows a culture of pervasive fraud, negligence, and deception. She said, quote, this is what Lisa DeMuth said, the House Speaker, okay. We need answers immediately about the apparent backdating and the potential falsification of documents found during this audit. She's a Republican. This proves, once again, that those running our programs expect no repercussions or accountability from Governor Walz or the Democrats in power, even when they fabricate documents and ignore basic procedures. So basic procedure is like, hey, let's get progress reports from these nonprofits and see what kind of services they're providing the taxpayers. In exchange, we're paying them the taxpayer money. Like, that's a basic procedure. But they went as far as to fabricate. So the audit found that. And then they went as far to fabricate documents, the Democrats, possibly fabricate them. And like, obviously they don't care. They don't think that they're going to be reprimanded. They don't think that they're going to face any kind of consequences from leaders or people in power at the state level. She says, quote, it's time to clean house and restore honesty and accountability in our state agencies. So, like I said, Walz re-election campaign, he announced that he wasn't going to run for re-election on Monday. This came out on Monday, this audit report. And perhaps that's why he gave up his re-election bid. This audit report is pretty scathing. And maybe that's why he's headed for the door at the end of his term. But I mean, this story just keeps getting worse and worse. Walz, Ellison, other Minnesota officials, they have better be prepared. And they better be answering questions. This is getting to be very serious. All right, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. I so do appreciate you being here. I'm going to come back. We're going to talk about rural Illinois, because rural Illinois has been under attack, not only by wind farms, wind plants, solar plants, but now they're going to be attacked by tech oligarchs and data centers. And I'm going to get to that here in just a second. Smash that like button. Subscribe. That's the best way to support the program. I will be back shortly.
You ever tried to explain your faith to someone who doesn't get it? Like you're speaking a different language? Peter knew that tension. He told believers to live such good lives among the pagans that even if they accused them of doing wrong, they'd see their lives and end up glorifying God. Translation: let your life preach louder than your lips. It's not weakness. That's warfare. You don't always need a microphone. You need integrity. You need consistency. You need to grind with grit and grace when no one's cheering. People are watching how you handle stress, how you treat your wife, how you react when life sucker punches you. They're watching to see if your God is real, because your walk is the evidence. You don't get to control what they say, but you can live in a way that shuts lies down over time. Let your honesty wreck stereotypes. Let your discipline echo louder than their gossip. Let your kindness feel like a gut punch to a world used to selfish men. Because one day, maybe not now, maybe not soon, those same people who laughed at your faith might remember your life when they hit rock bottom. And when they do, they'll know who to call. Live like someone's eternity might depend on it, because it might. You want a pre-workout that speaks for itself? Patriot Pump doesn't need hype, just results. Clean energy, no crash, built for men who lead by example, on the platform or in the shadows. Fuels what matters. Train for legacy.
Hey, smash that like button and share this out with your friends. Subscribe to the channel. Please subscribe. A big thank you to our sponsor, Patriot Pump Energy. Go check out patriotpumpenergy.com. Get your bottle of premium pre-workout. Promo code Conservative Cat. Before we took the break, I was telling you about rural Illinois. Oh, poor rural Illinois. Whether you live in Iowa, Indiana, Illinois, Kansas, we've seen this before. This song and dance. We've seen this, and it didn't start with data centers. It started with wind plants, solar plants. You get these guys at your kitchen table, these corporate hacks, and they bring the glossy brochures and they get in front of the farmers and they say, "Oh, there's free money. This is going to bring green jobs, and you're a part of the future if you sell us your land." Okay, and they're Chinese hacks. Okay, they told farmers like, "Oh, you're not even going to notice the wind farms. You're not going to notice the solar panels," and then the solar panels catch on fire in the middle of the field and they erupt. They'll go into schools and have the schools put them on rooftops. Olympia High School in Bloomington, or in the central Illinois area, McLean County. All of a sudden, the roof's on fire. You've got Walmart. Walmart's everywhere. They were putting solar panels. They stopped because they were catching on fire. Augustana College. There was a sports center, I think, that caught on fire because of the solar panels. They told the farmers, you won't even notice them. Okay, but then now you got windmills falling down on people. Yeah. So, and for a while, maybe you didn't really notice them. And then came the access roads, the noise, the higher electric bills, because we're transitioning off of real sources of energy like coal and nuclear, and real and effective energy, and we're transitioning off of that, and we're trying to source our energy from wind and solar, and it just doesn't work. And you're noticing the flicker of the lights, or you're noticing the high electric bill because they're trying to build an infrastructure that accommodates this green energy, and it's just really expensive to do. The transmission lines are cutting across your fields, the fields that your family has worked for generations. The property value hits. You're starting to notice it now. The maintenance crews that come out and try to decommission these windmills, you're starting to realize, oh crap, these suck, and we shouldn't have put the windmills and the solar farms here. And you're coming to the realization that most of the money didn't stay local. They promised green jobs. The people who are getting these jobs for the wind plants and for the solar plants are just foreign hacks, H-1B visas. They're the ones doing the construction. There's no real jobs that are coming out of this, local jobs. And the money isn't staying local. It's flowing upward, outward, and overseas. Solar followed the same script, as wind. And you've got hundreds of acres now full of wind plants and solar plants, right? You've got hundreds of acres of good farmland, scraped flat, panels shipped in from China, solar panels shipped in from China, tax incentives for these solar panel companies that are really just associated with China. And then they're inserting possibly surveillance equipment to take out the United States from within, our global adversary, China. And they're getting taxpayer dollars to come do this, and tax incentives paid by you, American families, and counties are left kind of holding the bag. They were promised all of these benefits from solar farms and wind farms, and these benefits never materialized. In fact, it's actually worked against us, because now there's, spyware in these, whether it's electric vehicles, solar panels, wind farms, spyware, in this. And that's damaging to you. The solar panels are catching on fire, and it's eating up all of our good, fertile farmland. Okay, so the same playbook is back. I want to be clear. This is kind of the same playbook, and it's back. Only this time it's not wind and solar and electric vehicles. And, I think of Goshen, the CCP-backed company coming here to the state of Illinois, Manteno, where they said, oh, you're going to have all kinds of green jobs. Never really materialized. And it turns out that they're, not even possibly making electric vehicle batteries, but they're making data center batteries now. And we know that the Chinese, this has been documented, that they are installing spyware and surveillance equipment into these technologies. I mean, this is terrible for the American people. It was bad when it was wind and solar and EV battery companies. It's going to be bad with the AI data centers. Okay, so Logan County. It brings me to this story. Logan County is a small town. Churches, schools, and I'll be frank with you, they don't have the water system, to serve a data center of this size. And I bring you this story. It's out of the center square. A Canadian company called Hut 8. Okay, they're backed by Meta and BlackRock. And they want to drop a 250-acre, 500-megawatt data center into this rural county, Logan County, in Illinois. And I'm going to pause there because the numbers matter. Okay, 500 megawatts. This is not some big building. This is not some computers. This is going to eat up enough electricity. Like, it's going to require enough electricity that would power 1 million homes. Okay, that's what 500 megawatts is. Logan County doesn't have millions of homes. They have 11,000 homes. So the infrastructure is not there. Illinois, we've transitioned off of energy. Now, they might be trying to strategically place it there because there's a nuclear plant in Clinton, which is in Logan County. So they might be trying to siphon off that nuclear energy. I still don't think that there's going to be the infrastructure there to provide them this amount of power. But the question is, not if this is big, but why here? I'll tell you why here. It's the nuclear power. They think that they're going to be able to derive enough power maybe from that nuclear plant in Clinton. We'll have to see. But the answer is the same. Reason wind farms and solar fields went to rural America. Why here? Yes, the nuclear plant, but rural communities, they've got the land, but they've also got limited political power. If you live in a rural community, you know that I hate to say this, but your county board members, your city councilmen, if you live in a rural community, they're not really doing anything. Okay. And that's kind of the beauty. Very limited government. Okay. But they have limited political power, these rural communities, and the leaders are often able to be pressured into taking whatever deal is on the table. So this story comes to you from Kelly Cubberly. Kelly Cubberly, she's not anti-technology. She's worked in IT for several years. She's an Army veteran, and she understands probably data centers than most people, probably most of the people pitching them and proposing them. Because a lot of these people are corporate hacks. They're, just in it for the money, and they don't really know what they're talking about. And she's concerned, she's concerned of the scale of this project. She's asking questions. Hey, how much water is this going to use? Because she's a Mount Pulaski native, and they don't have like top tier water treatment, okay, and water system. She's asking, hey, who are the contractors? Where are the materials coming from? Are they coming from local people, like, to build this thing? The local jobs, are these actual local jobs? Are there going to be local jobs here once the construction ends? And she's not getting a ton of answers from Hut 8, from this company. Apparently there was a 3-page PDF. That's it. 3 pages. This is projected to be a $5 billion project. And 3 pages. I'm sorry, that's not planning. That's, hey, trust us. And, Americans are done with this. Trust us. We're going to do it right. We trusted you with the wind and solar, eating up our farmland. There's no jobs out of it. We trusted you with the electric vehicles, the green weenie tax incentives. We let you take our money, our tax dollars, give it to these corporations to do their thing here. Like Goshen, there was one electric bus company that Pritzker had allocated some tax incentives to, and it went under. And we were told trust us back then. I don't want to hear trust us anymore. right, when it comes to the AI data centers. And Donald Trump, I think it's like $90 billion in tax incentives for these data centers. And I'll get to Donald Trump here in a second. But here's where we need to zoom out. Everybody agrees that the United States has to beat China in AI. Okay. And I agree. Trump agrees. You probably agree. We have to beat China in AI because we want to be the ones with that type of technology and having the stronghold over that type of technology, because it's very dangerous if in the wrong hands. Okay. But how we beat China matters. Okay. Because this is what China does. They go in and they go into a region, they take land, they take water, they take power, they build these massive industrial projects, and then they give the locals no benefits. Okay. They might give them enough benefit to keep them quiet, but that's not free market capitalism. That's technocratic extraction. And the danger right now is that some of these American tech oligarchs, your Elon Musks, have figured out how to sell that same model wrapped in an American flag to Washington. Okay, and I'm not for that. Going in, taking over these rural communities when they can't support or they don't have the infrastructure to support this kind of stuff. And they're not benefiting from it at all. And it's in their neighborhood, it's in their community. So they whisper things like national security. You know, your tech oligarchs like oligarch Elon Musk, they whisper things like there's an AI race. Okay, China is coming. We have to beat them. And yes, all of those things are true. And then they're handed billions, like I said, $90 billion, I think, from Donald Trump in tax incentives. And then they get these fast-tracked permits to build this. And then the local communities are told to get out of the way. And beating China does not mean becoming China. Okay, does not mean copying China. And it gives me China vibes when you've got these big tech oligarchs coming in and building these data centers without any input from the local communities. And, you know, covertly, she actually pointed out in the article a real life example of this. In Memphis, what Elon Musk did, XAI is what it's called. It's Elon Musk's XAI data center. And it went into this really poor neighborhood and they didn't get the proper approval. They're getting like fast track permits. And that's not free market, right? That's everybody else, you know, companies, they have to go through the bureaucracy, like the permits, the zoning. It's all fast tracked for AI. They've got these crazy tax incentives to go do it. Elon Musk did it here in Memphis. And they didn't have enough power. Okay, so they built the data center. They didn't have enough power and they had to go get generators from this little community. It's basically like it's called Starbase, Texas. They had to go get the generators and it's like an Elon Musk town in Texas. Starlink and all of the projects, SpaceX, a lot of the Elon Musk projects exist in this little town. But anyway, they had to go get generators from Texas to bring them up to Memphis because they didn't have enough infrastructure there, energy. So those generators, of course, produced fumes. The community has paid the price. In Tennessee, Meta, they built massive facilities that changed land use and infrastructure. Again, with minimal local say, they go and they change these zoning laws. And the locals don't have a say. They don't have a say at all. And then the deals are already signed, the concrete's poured, and then they're like, wait a second, we didn't even know that this data center was coming here. You know? So this is a pattern. You've got the tech companies are moving very fast and the local governments are kind of scrambling and locals are scrambling. I think that it's potential that Illinois doesn't rubber stamp this kind of stuff, and they might actually fight Donald Trump because Governor J.B. Pritzker has mad TDS syndrome, or like Trump derangement syndrome, and he might try to shut down some of these data centers. We'll have to see. He didn't do it, of course, with the commie Chinese solar panels and wind farms, because the communist China was reaping all of the benefits from that, and he's a foreign agent. I'm sure. That's my opinion. I don't think that Governor J.B. Pritzker is interested in Illinoisans or America at all. I think that he's a global stage type of guy. And here you have the residents asking questions after the concrete's already poured and after these deals are already made, and it's going so fast. Kelly Cubberly, she said that she doesn't want the state to get involved, whether that be to shut this down or to approve these types of things or to fast track it. She doesn't want the state involved. She wants local governments to get involved. She wants Logan County to write their own conditions. And that's how this ought to work. Hey, you have to show me tangible evidence that these jobs are going to go to the locals here, that you're going to pull from Heartland Community College, talent from Heartland Community College and place them in this data center and give us good jobs. And you're going to have to take some of your revenue and put it back into the community here that's giving you the infrastructure and the space to do the things that you're going to do, okay, with the AI data center. You have to meet the local conditions. If they truly respect the land, it shouldn't be a problem to not ram this through. If they truly respect the locals there, it shouldn't be a problem. And if they can't, provide or meet the terms and conditions of the locals, then maybe it's not as good as they advertise it out to be. Okay, jobs, and it's going to bring so much tax revenue into the area. Maybe it's not all that it's chalked up to be if you are ramming it through. And I'm not anti-AI. I'm not anti-progress. I'm not even really anti, big tech. I'm very skeptical. They have kind of weaseled their way into the heart of President Donald Trump. It's about this question. This is really what it's all about. Who bears the cost and who reaps the reward? Okay, if rural America provides the land, they provide the water, they provide the power, they provide the infrastructure, and they absorb the infrastructure strain, then rural America deserves transparency, they deserve investment, they deserve control over it, and they deserve respect. You can do the national security talking points all you want, and that's true, that we have to beat China at AI. And I'm not against really even the tax incentives. I think that this is a great thing to put your money into, unlike, Chinese solar panels and EV batteries. I don't think those are wins because it's not in demand, and they're not effective. Okay, solar panels aren't effective. Nobody likes them. Nobody wants them. It doesn't actually produce power. The EV batteries, nobody wants an electric vehicle because you can't go anywhere. So we can beat China without becoming China. We can lead an eye in AI without losing our heartland. We can build the future without sacrificing the people who feed this country, sacrificing our farmers, the farmland. We can do it. We can find the space. But we've got to be putting the investment back into the local communities. And it can't just be like Elon Musk's tech guys, tech bros coming in, or these H-1B visa workers coming in and taking all of these jobs at these AI data centers. We need to ensure that Logan County, if this data center pops up, is going to reap some benefits here because they're taking on all of the risk. So the Americans should be asking this question. If there's a data center coming to your town, you need to ask this question. Does it serve our community, or does it serve the H-1B visa workers and the tech oligarchs like Elon Musk? Okay. And that question deserves an answer before a single acre is lost and farmland is eaten up. So smash that like button, share this out with your friends, subscribe. Pritzker and his data centers are all on Chinese payroll. Yeah, so that's what's fascinating about this is, I think Trump wants to beat China in AI. So there's American AI data centers, and then you have this opposing AI data centers where it's all Chinese. Okay, and then you've got certain data centers. So this one, I think, is backed by Meta. Any data center that's backed by Meta is American. We know that Mark Zuckerberg has cozied up to President Donald Trump. I think that Mark Zuckerberg should have answered for his crimes of censorship and violating Section 230 during the 2020 election and working on behalf of the Biden administration to censor Donald Trump or to censor anybody who was pro Donald Trump, anybody who talked about ivermectin, and to censor all these people. I think that, Mark Zuckerberg should have answered for what I will call crimes or alleged crimes. But he's cozied up to President Donald Trump, and they've got these billions of dollars in tax incentives for AI data centers. And I'm against this at all. I just don't trust them because it's Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk. Like, let's be real. And you've got that. But then on the other side, as Bob had mentioned, that there are AI data centers that are trying to come to the United States. And you've got Democrat governors who are providing tax incentives to those as at a state level for them to come in. So, yeah, you've kind of got this war going on between China data centers and American data centers. Everybody's getting tax incentives. And really, the guy holding back is like these local communities where these data centers pop up, whether it is a Chinese-backed one or an American one. You've got the local communities suffering either way. Because they're the ones where their infrastructure absorbs the strain. They're the ones who have to deal with the power, providing power to these and to their power bills going up because these data centers suck up so much power, suck up so much water to cool it all down. So, yeah, they're the ones getting screwed, and they're not even getting jobs out of it. Why? Because Elon Musk, the American data center, would rather hire like H-1B visa workers, which is why, Donald Trump, he's in the year of Donald Trump saying, hey, like we need the H-1B visa workers for the AI data centers in order to staff them. Really what they're trying to do is, make as much money as possible and hire the H-1B visa worker at a much lower cost than the American worker. But then you've got China. They're not bringing in American jobs, right? If they're popping up data centers with the state tax incentives, some of these Democrat governors like JB, these data centers, they come in and they're not hiring locals after the construction. Maybe they hire locals for the construction. I don't know. But they're not going to hire locals after the fact for sure. They're going to staff them with Chinese foreigners, right? And Donald Trump has got to be tough on tech oligarchs like Elon, Mark Zuckerberg. They've got to be tough on these guys and say, no, you're not using H-1B. You're going to work with these local communities and you're going to pay these local communities for taking on all this risk. So that's my thoughts on it. We could do this thing and we could do it well. Like AI, again, we could be the AI guys. Like America could be the top country for AI, but you got to do it right. And you can't get greedy with it, right? You got to put the money back into the place that is providing you the infrastructure, the land, and you got to use the people there and staff the data centers with the people there. They don't want to do all of that because the people at the tippity top of these corporations want to make as much money as possible. And that's sad. That's sad because this could be a really great thing if it's done right. All right. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. And I will see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. I was a little late today. I started like 6:30-ish. It depends. I've been a little bit late lately. I've been 5 weeks pregnant. So show me some grace. We do have a lot of fun things happening. I think that I'm going to start doing Saturday scrolls. So I do this just regularly on my own time where I do like a Saturday, scrolling through social media, trying to catch up on maybe some news that I had missed through the week. And then I try to bring it to the Monday show. But what I'm going to do is Saturday shows where I do a Saturday scroll where I just sit and I scroll on Twitter and I just pull news and share it with you and share with you my take on the news. So we'll do a Saturday scroll. That's coming up. There's big things coming up for the Conservative Cat Show in 2026. You won't want to miss any of it. So you've got to subscribe. You got to subscribe. I'll see you tomorrow morning. I love you.